Shadows are most useful things. They prepare us for the reality. For instance, in this photograph, you can see you are prepared for a person to be leaning against a tree. So when you see the reality, you can see in more clarity that it's me taking a photo and I'm leaning against an oak tree. Likewise, the Mosaic Law prepares us for Jesus coming and helps us to educate us as to why he had to come and what he was going to do.
The Mosaic Law had several purposes. It was a code of conduct for the Israelites. It kept them reasonably well, but much more importantly, it was a shadow of Jesus Christ to come. In Deuteronomy 18 and verse 15, it says, Yahweh your God will raise up for you a prophet like myself, that's like Moses, from among yourselves, from among your brothers, to him you must listen. Now it would be many centuries later until we come to the book of John, where Philip finds Nathanael. This is chapter 1 and verse 45. He said, we have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, the one about whom the prophets wrote. He is Jesus. Now, if it hadn't been for the Mosaic Law, they wouldn't have known who Jesus was. Now, we need to talk about life for a moment. It's a very ethereal thing. We know the difference between a dead body and a live body, but we don't know what the difference is. I can't plug myself into the electric socket to charge up a bit of life. In fact, it would absolutely have the opposite effect. So God chose to use blood to represent life. Now, blood we can understand. So when Abel died, it was his blood that was calling out from the ground. Rather, it was his life. Now, the Israelites knew that they were under condemnation of death because of Adamic sin. And they were taught by the Mosaic Law that blood needed to be poured out, or a life needed to be given for the penalty of sin. But the Mosaic Law gave them a bit of temporary relief. They could use the blood of animals as a temporary forgiveness of sins. So when we come to the 1st century, we now understand why Jesus had to come and why he had to sacrifice himself. Now, if there had been no Mosaic Law, no prophecies concerning Jesus, we wouldn't have been prepared for him. We would have had no idea who he was, and why he had to sacrifice himself would have been lost on us. So the Mosaic Law was a very good education that blood had to be poured out for forgiveness of sins. Now we know that the blood of animals cannot forgive sins. We needed a much more perfect sacrifice, and Jesus was the one to provide that. Now the Mosaic Law then is vital for us to understand the path of salvation and the enormous sacrifice that Jesus was going to have to make on our behalf, because animals' blood or animals' lives were not going to be any good solution for this problem of the condemnation of death. So we can be so grateful to our dear Father, who has provided us such good education. He has taken such good care of us to help us understand what was to come. Now, obviously, there's far more to the Mosaic Law than this, but we'll deal with that